Hello students. So this is actually the part 2 of our last lesson on particle model, okay? And we're going to just continue with the session and we're going to see it as one whole lesson, okay? Now, this is the retrieval practice from what we've been doing, okay? So the question is asking you, list 2 properties of a solid. And the second question is asking you, list 2 properties of a liquid. And the last question is asking you, list 2 properties of a gas. What I would like you to do is actually to pause the video and then write down your answers. When you're done, get your green pen ready and ready to mark. Okay, can we begin? All right, so 2 properties of a solid. Let's go. So first of all, remember a solid has got a fixed shape. It doesn't change. It's also got a fixed volume and it cannot flow. Okay, how many of us got that mark right? Well done. Okay, the next one now, I'm sure that this has actually given you a clue on what a liquid is. Now, list 2 properties of a liquid, okay? Now, no fixed shape. Remember, I can take the shape of whatever container it gets into. Interesting enough, it's got a fixed volume, yes, and it can flow, okay? And then the last question is asking us, list 2 properties of a gas. Now, gas is even a bit way more different, okay? Now, a gas has got no fixed shape because it's a gas, okay? It's got no fixed volume, interesting enough, okay? Because it can go on any container and it can flow as well, okay? If you didn't get this right, okay, I'll advise you to actually use your green pen and make those corrections. So you can pause the video and make those corrections. All right, can we move on? Okay, now what we've been able to do, okay, from last lesson, we've been able to actually draw the different particle models for different states of matter. Remember what I asked you to do? To stick it in and actually write down the different properties, okay? Now, what we're going to be doing now is mastering this, okay? Being able to really understand this and become legends in this particular topic, okay? So hopefully we'll be able to explain using particle models why something is a solid, a liquid, or a gas. Now, this is it. Even you'll be surprised. This is a typical GCSE question for you to describe what makes something solid, what makes it liquid, okay? And we're going to be able to explain how we can use a particle model to explain that, okay? Although I touched on it briefly last lesson, okay, in the part 1 of this particular topic, but we're going to talk about it even more, okay? Now, particle models explain why some of the properties of a substance depends on its state. Now, what I'd like you to do is to look at the work you've done, where you've taken, you know, that the drawings I've asked you to do about the solid, liquid, and gas. Okay. Now, what I want you to do, okay, I'll need you to be able to explain, write your answers in your book, and you must write down in full sentence. These are some questions I need you to answer, okay, using the particle model to explain physical property. Now, number 1, for solid that you've done, okay, does it take up the shape of a sealed container? Okay, and explain, okay. Number 2, or does it even take up the shape of the bottom of container? Now, this is what you're going to decide, whether if it takes up the shape of the sealed container, Is it a solid? Is it a liquid? Or is it a gas? And then number 2, it takes up the shape of the bottom of the container. So if you put down the whatever thing it is inside the container, is it going to take the shape at the bottom of it? So you're going to write down whether this is a solid, a liquid, or a gas again. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is to pause the video and answer that question. Okay. Okay. Are you all done? Let's look for it. So, what state of matter takes up the shape of a sealed container? Now, the answer is actually gas. I know you might be saying, oh, I thought it's liquid. No, it's gas. Okay. Now, a sealed container. Now, the second question is asking you, what state of matter takes up the shape of the bottom of the container? And your answer is going to be liquid. A liquid will take up the shape of the bottom. Remember, gas do float. Okay, gas doesn't just stay in one place. But if you put water, the water wouldn't really be floating in air. If you get what I mean, it's going to go straight to the bottom due to gravity. Okay, so it takes up the shape of the bottom of the container. I hope I'm making sense. Now, the next question is asking you, which state of matter flows the easiest? And the answer is actually gas. Gas is light, so it's going to flow the easiest. Okay, and which one has a fixed shape? What do you think? Solid. Okay, and then the next question is asking you, which one is extremely difficult to compress? And that will be solid again. And which one can easily be compressed or easily squashed? And that is gas. It's hard to actually compress liquid, honestly. All right, I hope you've gotten that right. If you haven't gotten it right, it's fine. What's quite important, like I said, is to make sure you make those corrections. That's the most important thing. Okay, so pause the video and make those corrections. Okay, moving on. Now, let's look at it again. Which of these letters represents a solid? Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Or is it D? Or all of them? Or any of them? Okay, using these options. What do you think? Okay, I guess you've written down your answer. I would say it's A. Why? Because all the particles are actually tightly next to each other. They vibrate. Okay, so they're right close to each other, meaning they can't really move. All they're doing is vibrating. And that links up with this particular answer here, D. The particles in a solid vibrate in fixed position. Okay, so your answer is A and D for number 1. Okay, now the rest of them, have a look at this. There's space in between, so they can still kind of move. There's space as well, so they can still kind of move, if that's making sense. All right, next question is asking you, which letter represents a liquid? Is it A? Okay, 1 for A. Is it 2 for D? 3, is it particles are all touching, so there's no space to move? Or is it 3, A and B? Or is it 4, C and D? What do you think? Have you written down your answer? Okay, now it's actually A. Okay, there's a bit of space, not too much space. There's a bit of space, okay? So it can pretty much move around, okay, and bounce and hit and collide. We use the word collide. When you get to year 9, year 10, year 11, you'll be learning about what we call the collision theory, okay, where you're going to be learning about collision theories where particles actually hit, bounce off each other, okay, and energy is released. So there's a bit of space there, okay, for liquid, for the particles to move around and to bounce around, okay, and there's a chance of them colliding. If you look at solid, there's no chance of them colliding. They only vibrate. Now the next one's asking you now, okay, which letter represents a gas? Have a look. Have you picked your answer? Okay. Now, number 4. Okay. B. See, there's more space there. C, there's even more space than that. And D, there's more space. Okay. For the particles to move around. Okay. Like I said, look at this arrow. It shows the movement of the particle, and you can see it's bouncing. This particular one, as you can see, it's almost hitting that. It's almost colliding with the other particle, and energy is released. Okay. So in terms of gas, okay, the particles have got more space. Okay. More surface area, more space to move around and to collide, if that makes sense. Now, what I want you to do, okay, this is where we're mastering it now. I know this is a bit of a walk, but it's going to be worth it at the end. Okay, what I'd like you to do is to actually, I want you to draw this. Okay, it's going to take your time. Yes, pause the video. I'd like you to draw it. Okay, and I'd like you to write a sentence in it. Okay, why do you think honey is quite heavy? Okay, do you think, can it be squashed? Yes. Why? Okay. Why? What is its shape? Okay, is this fixed or can it change? If it can change, write it. It cannot change, write it. Now, it's already helped you really. It's told you already that it cannot be squashed. You write down why. Honey, it's told you already it can be squashed. Write down why. Okay, this is actually a really big extension question. Okay, so pause the video and attempt it. I'm not expecting you to know everything, but just have a go. Okay. Now, after you've done this, I need you to actually take a picture of it, okay, and send us an email for us to see what you've done, okay? And I'm pretty much confident that you now know why something is solid, something is liquid, and something is gas, okay? If that makes sense. Now, we're going to move on to the next activity, okay? This is actually the last thing we're going to be doing, because we've been able to cover everything, literally everything. So job well done to every one of you that actually took part in this. Now, this is the last thing. So, spot the mistake. Miss Allen decided to draw a particle diagram of a solid. However, it's not quite right. What do you think is a mistake? Okay? Can you actually look at it like a forensic scientist, like your Sherlock Holmes, okay? What mistake has Miss Allen made? I'm glad there's no Miss Allen in our science department, okay? So, Miss Allen is not going to come for you. But what mistake has Miss Allen made in this case? Yes, there's space there. So it's not really solid, is it? For it to be solid, there's almost zero space for the particle to kind of move. There's space there, there's space there, there's space there, and the particle can slightly move. But for solid, it should be vibrating, not exactly moving, if that makes sense. So job well done to every one of you for taking part in the lesson, and I'll see you in the next topic. Bye-bye.